What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. It's been a bit since we took a look at the Prismatic Warlock, but today I bring you a tremendously powerful build to use over the final few months of Heresy. The success of this build is a result of several new additions to our seasonal artifact, which have brought new life into a lot of Strand-centric builds, and today we're focusing on the synergy that these artifact mods will have with their Prismatic Strand Warlock using the Swarmers. This is an available option with exotic class items, but we are focusing on how this build synergizes with the original exotic, and when it comes to overall effectiveness, I would put this build at the same level as the Getaway Artist. This is an exotic that I'm sure a lot of you have been using, especially since the release of Act 3, but today we're going to cover how you can optimize the use of the Swarmers to receive the maximum benefit out of your vigilant army of glowing rats. This exotic creates 2 Threadlings whenever Tangles are destroyed. Threadlings are an amazing component to Strand-centric builds. These sentient beings will be generated from a lot of sources, and when they're first created, they'll seek out and attack nearby enemies, inflicting a base amount of 338 points of damage. They're fun to watch and will provide us with a great source of additional damage, helping us empty out big rooms of enemies with minimal effort, but they can just as easily pile on top of a big enemy, causing a ton of burst damage. If there's no enemies nearby, then those Threadlings will return back to us, but we can only hold a max of 5. Since we are using the actual exotic boots, those Threadlings will inflict Unravel onto enemies. When under the effects of this Strand debuff, enemies will take continuous damage from tiny threads of Strand. This starts with a 9-second timer. The individual enemy will be attacked by as many as 3 threads of energy, with each applying 29 points of base damage. That gets reapplied twice per second, and because they're able to spread across enemies like wildfire, they're going to be a great source of extra damage. Between our Prismatic subclass and artifact, we're going to increase the production of Tangles, which means more Threadlings. We'll have a continuous source of woven mail, which provides us with a 45% bonus in damage resistance, and we'll be able to increase the effectiveness of our unraveling and our Threadlings by adding in the ability to trigger Sever, which neuters your enemy's damage output by 40%, making it that much easier to tank in-game content. The Swarmers makes for an extremely effective exotic whenever used on a standard Strand subclass, but with Prismatic, we'll be able to add in things like Radiance and Devour. We're also gaining the benefits of Transcendence, which gives us what is essentially a roaming super, and when it's active, we'll gain a massive bonus to the regen of our abilities. So through the Prismatic subclass, we're gaining significant advantages in terms of damage output and survival. The Feed the Void aspect will provide us with Devour whenever we defeat enemies with any of our abilities, and that does include any of our Tangles and our Neon minions. When Devour is active, each final blow grants full health restoration, and based on what level the enemy was, you'll get between 5 and 20% bonus grenade energy. We are using Threadling grenades, which means extra green rats to add to our army. This is also going to pair up with our main choice of exotic weapons, which is the Tessellation exotic fusion rifle, and we'll talk more about it here soon. To increase the production of our Threadling grenades, we are using a grenade kickstart mod on our legendary gloves. This will convert armor charges into grenade energy, but we need to create orbs of power for that to happen, which is why you should consider using Siphon helmet mods, the heavy-handed gloves mod, and even the Reaper class item mod. Orbs of Power will provide us with additional benefits, as these will grant Strand weapons with unraveling rounds, and that's thanks to the Unraveling Orbs artifact mod. This would also give Strand weapons the temporary ability to pierce barrier champion shields. Whether it's because of our Tangles, Threadlings, or weapons, every enemy that we come into contact with is getting unraveled, and that plays into the use of another artifact mod called Horde Shuttle. This will cause Threadlings to periodically spawn from unraveled targets, and with the upgraded version, Threadlings will sever enemies as they damage them. And to bring our Strand synergy full circle, we are using To Shreds. Dealing sustained damage to severed enemies triggers unraveling, and when severed enemies are defeated, a field of Strand energy will be created. This will provide woven mail to you and any teammate who passes through it. With the upgraded version, unraveling projectiles will deal 10% extra damage, 25% extra damage when those enemies are severed. The Weaver's Call aspect will give us 3 additional Threadlings, and that's going to happen whenever we cast our Rift. We have invested a lot of character stats towards our recovery, which will reduce how long we have to wait to activate our class ability, but this also reduces how long it takes for our health recovery to kick in. We have Arcane Needles active, which gives us a ranged melee that unravels targets, and since we are using the Facet of Dawn fragment, we'll trigger Radiance whenever we strike enemies with those, and we'll share that Radiance with teammates whenever they defeat enemies. We will have 3 charges available of our Arcane Needle, so we'll be able to trigger Radiance pretty often, helping us maintain a 20% bonus in weapon damage. And whenever Radiance is active, any weapon that's not already attuned to handle a champion will gain the ability to pierce barrier champion shields. Radiance will only stay active for 4 seconds, so you'll need to time it out right to maximize your damage. With Facet of Awakening equipped, we'll be able to generate elemental pickups whenever rapidly defeating enemies with matching element types. We're all in with Strand affinities here, so this will result in the creation of additional tangles, which is going to give us more Threadlings. An added benefit in hitting enemies with tangles is that the Vile Weave artifact mod causes enemies to become severed whenever they're hit by a tangle, which is all the more reason why you need to be sure to destroy these. We're also using the Elemental Siphon artifact mod, so whenever we rapidly defeat enemies with strained weapons, we'll create additional tangles, and with the upgraded version, we'll get bonus super energy whenever destroying tangles. With Faceted Protection, we'll gain a 15% bonus in damage resistance whenever we are surrounded, and whenever we cast our Transcendence, we'll gain a stacking increase to that, providing us with a total of 32% resistance, and that is in addition to Woven Mail. And we're going to be able to activate Woven Mail thanks to Faceted Purpose, which is going to give us that damage resistance whenever we pick up an orb, and that'll play right into the use of the Limit Break mod. This provides a 30% bonus in Needle Storm's damage whenever we have Woven Mail active. Since we're completely oriented around Strand energies, we're only going to generate Darkness energy, which means our Transcendence would take a while before we could use it, and that's why we're using Facet of Devotion. This will give us a small amount of light energy whenever we defeat Strand debuffed enemies. It's not a lot of energy, but it is off of each enemy, ranging between 1 and 4%, and we'll gain that whenever defeating unraveled and severed enemies. As I previously mentioned, the Tessellation is one of my preferred weapons to use with this build. This fusion rifle adapts its energy type to match that of your grenade, so with us using a Strand grenade option, we'll get a Strand weapon in the energy slot. This weapon creates bonus grenade energy whenever defeating enemies, providing 20% energy off of each enemy, and by consuming your grenade energy with the Tessellation, you will charge up an overpowered blast that deals out a base amount of 3,000 points of damage, which equates out to well over 100,000 points of damage against most bosses. It takes just over 2 seconds to charge this shot, and when the shot hits targets, a secondary explosion will be triggered. This will deal 165 points of base damage, and it's going to cause all nearby enemies to become severed. The Borrow Dyad, the Navigator, the Euphony, even the Final Warning will all have strong synergy with this build, but I think the Tessellation is a much stronger standout right now, especially when you take into account that it can stun unstoppable champs, and when you factor in that you're able to consume Transcendent grenades to make Tessellation's overpowered shot. So between Transcendence, our Threadling Grenade, Devour, and Grenade Kickstart, we're going to be able to spam that overpowered shot. Another underrated Strand exotic is the Wishkeeper. This exotic bow creates a trap that suspends targets, and that stuns unstoppable champs. It deals bonus damage against suspended enemies, and with hatchlings equipped, we'll be able to create even more little green rats. When it comes to legendary weapons that we want to pair with Tessellation, we would love to see Slice, Tear, or Hatchling as available traits. Weapons like the Call, the Adamantite, the Tusk of the Boar, Rufus's Fury, Mirror Imago, and Refusal to the Call would all work out great. Refusal to the Call would be an especially beneficial option to use. Alongside Nobel, Hold the Line, and Gold from Lead, we would gain bonus health restoration off of Final Blows. We'd gain bonus glaive damage after blocking, and we'd regenerate glaive ammo as we defeat enemies, which would in turn create heavy ammo. Hold the Line makes it advantageous to use heavy machine guns just as much as glaives, making the Circular Logic and Pro Memoria some great options right now. As I mentioned at the top of this video, this build rivals the effectiveness of the Getaway Artist. With all the green rats and unraveling threads doing most of the work for you, all you've really got to do is sit back and pick things off. You can play aggressive with the swarmers, or you can play it safe and stay to a distance. But either way you play, you're getting a ton of bonus damage, and tons of damage resistance, making you a dominating force at any level of content. So if you haven't checked out the Swarmers on a Prismatic Warlock, then it's about damn time you do so, and don't forget to try it out with the Tessellation. Let me know your thoughts about the Swarmers, Prismatic Warlocks, and the Tessellation down in the comments below. And if you need help getting today's build set up, then be sure to check out my dim and mobalytics links, which are down in the description below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.